A short time ago, I discussed it with the Republican Congressman Scott Taylor, who formerly served as a U.S. Navy SEAL. Congressman, chemical weapons inspectors, I think now 2 weeks after the event pretty much, have now been allowed into Duma. Do you think they're going to find anything that the Russians haven't meddled with beforehand?
Remains to be seen. It's very unfortunate that we're just now having international chemical weapons inspectors being allowed in because the Russians and the Assad regime did not allow them to be in there before. But, I mean, you never know. It's certainly not my expertise, but perhaps.
What do you think now happens in terms of American strategy in Syria? Are you hearing anything from people in the White House or there on Capitol Hill who are telling you that these strikes will lead to a more comprehensive American strategy?
So it's interesting that you asked that question. I'm actually about to step into a classified briefing in Syria in an hour or two. That being said, I don't think that these strikes fundamentally change the calculus on the ground. I don't think that they have also indicated what American strategy is right now with Syria. I think we do need to have a strategy there. We needed to have one there 5 years ago, and we need one now. But I don't think these strikes, I think they were targeted, limited in scope, of course, and were meant to as a deterrent, in my opinion. I think they were successful in that regard. But I don't think they change what we're going to do in Syria in regards with to counter Iran or Russia or even the Assad regime.
Okay, take the president out of it, whether it's President Obama or
sure.
President Trump. You're a former Navy SEAL. If you had the ear of whoever was deciding policy in the United States, what would you say that strategy should be?
Well, you know, as you very well know, with international relations, it's like a chess game. You move one piece, the whole game has changed. So, yes, it is different today than it was before. That being said, I think that right now it looks like Assad is propped up, of course, by the Russians and by the Iranians. It looks like he's going to be there for some time, so that has to be taken into account. I do think we should have a presence there in some regard. I don't mean like, you know, a huge military presence. I'm not for that. But I think the United States has to exert some pressure. They have to exert some influence in the region. We have to be able to bring our allies together to counter an aggressive Iran who wants to be more hegemonic in that region, and of course Russia. So, like, I think that we should play a role, be engaged in the region, and make sure that we don't allow for the aggression over Russian aggression or Iranian aggression.
Okay, there's been a back and forth on whether the president is still determined to pull back American forces, those that are remaining there from Syria. The French yesterday saying, yes, it looked like he was going to stay. The White House now saying, no, it looks like he's going to pull back after all. Would you urge the president to keep U.S. troops in Syria?
It all depends on what the mission is. And as you know, there are roughly 2,000 troops there now that are countering ISIS and al-Qaeda in the area. They're not doing it necessarily to fight against the Assad regime or get involved in the civil war. The United States has a tremendous amount of assets to bear in the region. When you're talking about Qatar, Saudi Arabia, we have some in Yemen, of course, and Iraq right next door. So we have the ability to exercise influence and go into Syria if necessary, if we had to. But I think the president's gut instinct in terms of not having a huge American military presence in Syria is the right one.
But those 2,000 you would keep there, sorry, just to be clear, those 2,000 you would keep there or you would pull them back?
That all depends on ground conditions. Okay. That all depends on ISIS and al-Qaeda in the area and what the mission is, if the mission has been completed or not. So it all depends on the ground conditions.
Okay.